Welcome back, everyone. I'm excited to have you back here as we dive into Module 5 Interviewing and Assessment. In our previous modules, we explored critical strategies for sourcing and attracting talent, including traditional sourcing methods, social media recruiting, and effective candidate attraction strategies. These foundational approaches have helped us understand how to find and engage with top candidates. Now, we're shifting our focus to the interviewing and assessment phase, an equally important part of the recruitment process. In this module, we'll cover how to prepare for interviews, how to assess candidates effectively, and how to avoid biases during the hiring process. Today, we'll be starting with Part 1 Interview Preparation. We'll discuss how to structure interviews, ask the right questions, and ensure you're set up to assess both skills and cultural fit. By the end of the session, you'll have a solid framework to ensure that your interviews are not only productive but also aligned with your hiring goals. Let's get started. Before we dive into the details, let's take a quick look at the agenda for today's session on interview preparation. We'll begin by discussing the importance of effective interview preparation and why having structured approach is essential for making sound hiring decisions. We'll explore how consistency in interviews helps ensure fairness and improves your ability to compare candidates objectively. Next, we'll go over steps to creating structured interview process. This will include tips on how to design your interview so they align with the role you're hiring for and how to prepare targeted interview questions that focus on the key competencies you want to assess. Then, we'll shift to conducting behavioral interviews, a highly effective technique for evaluating candidates' past behavior to predict their future performance. We'll cover the types of behavioral questions you should ask and how to interpret candidates' responses. Finally, we'll discuss assessing candidate skills and experience, providing best practices for evaluating both hard and soft skills and ensuring thorough assessment of each candidate's qualifications. Throughout the session, we'll also touch on practical tips and real-world examples to guide you through the process. I'd like to hear from you. What challenges have you faced in preparing for interviews? How do you think adopting a more structured approach could help overcome challenges? Now, we have a clear agenda. Let's dive into our first topic, the importance of interview preparation. A successful interview starts long before you meet the candidate. It begins with careful planning and preparation. Let's explore why taking time to prepare effectively can make a significant difference in your hiring outcomes and how structured interviews help ensure fairness and consistency. Let's start by understanding the importance of interview preparation. First, why effective interview preparation is key. Interview preparation is essential because it sets the stage for successful hiring process. By preparing effectively, you ensure that you're asking the right questions and evaluating candidates objectively. This allows you to identify whether the candidate's skills, experience, and qualities align with the job role and your company's culture. Preparation also helps reduce the risk of making poor hiring decisions. When you have a clear framework for evaluating candidates, it's easier to make informed choices, avoiding common pitfalls like relying on gut feeling or getting distracted by irrelevant factors. Additionally, when you're prepared, you project a more professional and organized image, which improves the candidate's experience. Remember, the interview is a two-way street. Candidates are assessing you and how your company as much as you are assessing them. Number 2, how structured interviews improve consistency and fairness. One of the most effective ways to prepare for interviews is by using a structured format. Structured interviews follow a consistent format, which reduces bias and subjectivity. Instead of relying on ad hoc questions, structured interviews use predefined questions that are asked to all candidates. This ensures a fair comparison as each candidate is evaluated based on the same criteria. Structured interviews also make the evaluation process more reliable. By using a clear scoring system and predefined questions, it's easier to compare candidates and make data-driven decisions. And finally, having structured process increases the legal defensibility of your hiring practices as it demonstrates that all candidates are treated equally. How do you currently prepare for interviews and what challenges do you face in maintaining consistency? Now that we've explored the importance of interview preparation, let's discuss how to create a structured interview process. First, steps to designing a structured interview. The first step in creating a structured interview is to clearly define the role requirements. This involves understanding the key responsibilities, the necessary skills, and the qualifications for success. A solid understanding of these elements will help guide your interview questions. Next, it's crucial to align the interview process with your company culture. Cultural fit is just as important as technical ability, so think about the attributes that make someone a good fit for your organization. This will allow you to tailor your questions accordingly. Once you've defined the role and cultural fit, develop a question framework. This framework should include a mix of technical questions to assess competencies, as well as questions that will help you understand how candidates will fit into the culture. To ensure consistency and fairness, standardize the interview process so that all candidates are asked the same set of questions in the same order. This allows for objective comparisons between candidates. Finally, use a scoring rubric to evaluate each candidate's responses. This structured approach ensures that all candidates are assessed based on the same criteria, leading to more objective hiring decisions. Preparing for relevant and targeted interview questions. When preparing your interview questions, focus on questions that assess key competencies. Competency-based questions help you understand whether candidates possess the skills needed for success in the role. Behavioral questions are also an excellent tool as they allow you to explore past experiences and how candidates handle specific situations. These types of questions can provide valuable insights into how someone will perform in your environment. Cultural fit is another critical aspect, so include questions that explore how well the candidate aligns with your company's values and culture. Additionally, don't forget to assess technical skills, especially for roles that require specific expertise. Tailor your questions to ensure you're evaluating the candidate's ability to solve real-world problems they may encounter on the job. How do you currently develop your interview questions? As we move into our next topic on conducting behavioral interviews, think about how behavioral questions might help you assess candidates more effectively. Now that we've outlined the steps to creating structured interview process, let's focus on conducting behavioral interviews, one of the most effective techniques for assessing candidates. The value of behavioral interviews. Behavioral interviews are built on the principle that past behavior is a strong indicator of how a candidate will perform in the future. When you ask candidates to provide real-life examples, you gain insights into how they handle situations similar to those still faced in the role that you're hiring for. This technique also helps you evaluate critical soft skills such as communication, leadership, problem solving, and adaptability. qualities that are often harder to assess in the traditional interviews. Number two, asking effective behavioral questions. One key method for conducting behavioral interviews is the STAR technique. STAR stands for situation, task, action, and result. By framing questions this way, you guide candidates to provide detailed responses. For example, you could ask, tell me about a time when you had to overcome a challenge at work. The candidate's response should include the situation they were in, tasks they need to complete, the action they took, and the result of their efforts. Some examples of strong behavioral interview questions include, describe a situation where you work under pressure and how you handled it. Or, give an example of a time you led a team to achieve a goal. Number three, evaluating behavioral responses. When evaluating behavioral responses, focus on how the candidate handled the situation, particularly in their actions and problem-solving approach. Compare their answers to the key competencies you've outlined for the role. Using scoring system for these responses helps ensure consistency and fairness across all candidates. Have you used behavioral interview questions in your process? In our next topic, we'll discuss how to assess candidates' overall skills and experience beyond just behavioral responses. Now that we've explored behavioral interviews, let's move on to assessing candidate skills and experience, a crucial step in ensuring you're making the right hiring decision. Number one, best practices for assessing skills. When it comes to assessing candidates, there are two main categories to focus on: hard skills and soft skills. For hard skills, use technical assessments or job-specific tests to measure candidates' proficiency in the areas required for the role. This could include coding challenges for developers, writing samples for content roles, or data analysis tasks for analytical positions. On the other hand, soft skills such as communications, teamwork, leadership, and adaptability can be harder to measure, but are just as important. Behavioral questions and situational exercises, as we discussed earlier, are great for evaluating these skills. These methods allow you to see how candidates navigate challenges and interact with others in various situations. No matter what skills you're assessing, it is important to maintain consistency in your evaluations. By applying the same criteria to all candidates, you ensure fairness and objectivity in hiring process. Number two, tools and technique for evaluation. There are various tools and techniques available to help you evaluate candidates more thoroughly. For hard skills, you might consider using online assessments, coding challenges, or industry-specific tests to assess technical abilities. Portfolio reviews are particularly useful for creative or technical roles, allowing you to examine a candidate's past projects and accomplishments. In addition, situational exercises such as presenting candidates with hypothetical scenarios or role-playing exercises help you observe how they would handle real-world challenges relevant to the role. Finally, including peer or panel interviews can provide more rounded evaluation. Getting multiple perspectives from different stakeholders ensure comprehensive assessment of the candidate's skills, experience, and cultural fit. What tools or techniques do you currently use to assess skills? As we wrap, we'll take a look at how to bring all these elements together for making informed hiring decisions. As we reach the end of this session, let's recap the key takeaways or interview preparation. Number one, preparation leads to success. The importance of preparing for interview can be overstated. A well-prepared interviewer is more likely to make informed, fair, and consistent hiring decisions. Using structured interviews ensures that each candidate is evaluated on the same criteria, which not only increases fairness but also leads to better outcomes in finding the right fit. Tailoring your questions to the role and aligning them with your company culture will give you a clear picture of how well candidates will perform within your team. Number two, behavioral and skill assessments. We've also discussed the value of combining behavioral interviews with skills assessments. Behavioral questions give you deeper insights into how candidates have handled real world situations, which can be an indicator of how they'll perform in your organization. Additionally, skill assessments, whether through technical tests, portfolio reviews, or situational exercises, help you gauge both the hard and soft skills necessary for the role. And number three, the power of thought process. Finally, a well structured interview process reduces unconscious bias, improves the quality of your hiring decisions, and increases the likelihood that you'll choose the right candidate for the job. Making the time thoroughly assess each candidate, you're setting both your team and the new hire up to success. As we wrap this discussion, think about your current interview process. What adjustments could you make to improve how you assess and select candidates? Looking ahead, in our next session, we'll focus on conducting effective interviews, where we will focus or cover techniques for keeping candidates engaged during the interview, using active listening and asking impactful follow up questions to gain deeper insights. As we move forward, think about how the strategies we discovered today could enhance your current interview process. What improvements are you looking to make? Thank you for your time today. I'm excited to continue building on these concepts with you in our next session.